We now welcome Gianluca Greco. He will go through the status of regulation for underground hydrogen storage in Europe.
Thank you, Arno. Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Gianluca Greco, and I'm working from FHA, Aragon Hydrogen Foundation, based in Spain. And I'm going to present a general overview about the European regulation on the gas storage. It doesn't work. I think it's from here. Okay, it works. Don't worry. The present work was carried out within the high storage project, the work package 6, and the main task was, to identify the legal framework for underground hydrogen storage at the European level, using as starting point existing underground gas storage industry regulations. The main task was to provide, a set of recommendations in order to properly deploy the large-scale underground hydrogen storage, avoiding, possible barriers, legal barriers for its proper deployment. This kind of work was finalized in 2021. I forgot to mention, and starting with the methodology adopted for this work, it is important to highlight that it is not so easy, to analyze the legal framework across Europe, since each country presents a proper, its own legal framework in its own language. So it is not really uniform. So to gather as much information as possible, a consultative process was carried out involving the Hystories 7 partners with 15 third parties, and as well as the advisory board of the project, consisting into 13 companies among European gas storage operators, TSO, and manufacturers. And as you see here in this graph on the right, these are the distributions of the 39 responses we got from 17 European countries. And as a result of this consultative process, and furthermore, a further questionnaire was developed for the identification of applicable permits in countries such as France, Germany, Poland, and Spain, and it was completed and reviewed by experts of these countries. Moving to the results obtained from the consultative process, we identified different groups of countries depending on the kind of legislation in force or absent. So the first group was for those countries with a legislation in force for underground hydrogen storage, and this is the case of Austria and Denmark. For the case of Austria, the mining GATT allows, underground hydrogen storage for scientific research purposes, but not for commercial use, for commercial application in general. And it is enough to allow companies such as RAG to start pilot projects such as USC FlexStore and USS 2030. And in Denmark, the regulation framework is already defined in many aspects, and an extra requirement is needed for offshore storage. In case of Germany, the legal framework covers chemical products in general, as well as the natural gas. And since 2016, it is possible to even store helium under the ground level. So it is expected that this kind of regulation will be applied and extended also for underground hydrogen storage. And the United Kingdom, which is among the countries with the largest experience in hydrogen storage. The situation is quite similar, and there are already 3 geological sites which have passed the legal process. Moving to the second group of countries, for those with legislation under development, this is the case for France. The mining code covers, let's say, chemical products for industrial use, but not for power supply and energy production. And the Netherlands, the situation is very, let's say, similar. And worth to mention the Hystock project, which started in 2021 as the first project to be carried out in this context under legislation under development. Moving to the third group, it is for countries with no UCS legislation under development, and this is the case for Portugal and Spain. Both countries do not present at the moment any UCS legislation, but they do present a consolidated framework for gas storage. The fourth group was related to all those countries with no UCS legislation under development, but also no specific UGS legislation, such as Czech Republic, Estonia, and Lithuania. And a special mention to Lithuania, which presents already a legislation in force for underground CO2 storage through CCS technology. And the rest of countries analyzed, such as Greece, Hungary, Italy, Latvia, Poland, and Romania, they belong to the third group, let's say with no UCS legislation under development, but with legislation for the gas storage. Okay, and regarding the results concerning the standards, we identified 3 sets of standards. The first one, developed by the International Organization for Standardization, related to underground gas storage facilities. And the second one, from different technical standards from international references, bodies or institutes, more related to operation conditions and safety for underground storage facilities. And finally, the third one, a specific national standard from Norway, United Kingdom, and Germany, which are 3 countries with already UCS legislation in force. Regarding the permits, the results obtained from permits, from permits analysis, 4 tables were filled, like this one visible here in this slide, for France, Germany, Spain, and Poland. Obviously, for all those countries with no UCS legislation, the corresponding table refers to the current gas storage regulations. And to conclude, we identified, let's say, 4 critical points as potential barriers for the deployment of large-scale hydrogen storage. The first one, as I was saying at the beginning of the presentation, it could be the great variety of governances involved in the UHS and UGS legislation, and so it might be a potential barrier if we consider if we want to unify, let's say, the permits for hydrogen storage. And the second point could be the regional or national regulations that aim at limiting any activity in the underground. We are not talking only about exploitation, but also geological characterization and exploration. And the third point, the current legislation does not cover the underground storage facilities for the power industry, not in all the cases. And finally, the storage of natural gas in certain member states can be decided independently of the claims of the landowners. So this is currently not possible for any other type of product, such as hydrogen. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Gianluca. We've got 5 minutes for questions. Anyone in the room or online?
Hello. Is there a European initiative to align the...
Sorry.
Is there an European initiative to align the individual country approaches?
I don't think it's not at the moment, I think. And that might be a problem because yeah, it's quite difficult at the moment to consider unifying all these regulations, and yeah, but it might be the right way to unify the standardized codes. Yes.
Maybe just to complement, yes, I think not, but some national regulation derive from European directives. Like for the environment codes in a lot of countries, it derives from the what is called a Seveso, following the Seveso accident in Italy directive. So it's not aligned, but sometimes it derives from European directives, and so it's not so far.
So I saw that there was a lot of underground gas storage, which obviously has there's very relevant regulations. Do you think that for these countries it will be easy to develop underground hydrogen storage legislation because they already have something very similar in place?
Well, I don't think it's quite easy at the moment, but yeah, we'll try.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gianluca.